Things to never do on NoFap. Just don't watch prawn. Thanks for watching. All right, let's run through this. This is not going to be a crazy long video, but if you don't have 5 to 10 minutes to spare to watch this, then get ready to just be, spewing out your genes everywhere and just be prawning forever. You're probably not going to get too far on your reboot if you don't know what you shouldn't be doing. The most important one, hands down, is you shouldn't be on NoFap without a purpose. This goes for so many things, right? And to take it back really quick, when I was in university, I didn't really have a purpose. Not really, it was so surface level, didn't have any depth to it. I was just there to follow the herd and for the quote unquote promise of making money down the road. It was purposeless, it was so shallow, and I flunked super hard. Even when I was working day jobs, I just had no passion, no purpose. It was just for a monetary reason, and hence I had a horrible performance when I would do sales jobs. When I worked in this chocolate factory, I wouldn't show up sometimes, I wouldn't call in sick, I just didn't care at all. And when you don't have a purpose behind something, it makes everything meaningless. You can follow the rules, it's pretty simple. Don't really pay attention to what's going on down here. Don't watch things that you shouldn't be watching. The rules are pretty straightforward, but it's all meaningless without a purpose. It gives you intent. When there is that depth, when there's a spiritual layer beneath it all, it ties everything together and it gives meaning to your pain and suffering, because it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be discomfort. There's going to be sleepless nights where your brain's going crazy. It wants the dopamine, it wants the high, and the purpose gives you a meaning to keep going, and it gives everything so much more oomph. So first and foremost, we get your purpose unlocked, get that checked up and cleared out. It's going to be the most defining factor to your reboot. Next up, it's more so a timeline thing. You shouldn't expect things to change very quickly or suddenly. It's more so the marathon versus the sprint. Now, it's not an absolute thing where the whole thing is like a marathon or the whole thing is like a sprint, but when you begin this journey, you shouldn't be going in with expectations to become like a Super Saiyan, so suddenly. It's comparable to going to the gym. When you go to the gym, when you go in for your first time in a very long time, if you go for a week and you spend 30 minutes to an hour at the gym, you're not gonna be shredded by the end of it. It's just not how it works. So you can't have that same expectations with your reboot to expect by the end of the first week. Though you may have results, you will feel different. You're not gonna be at the point where, for example, someone such as myself, you're not gonna be like a monk. It's just not realistic. So get that expectation deleted out of your mind. You shouldn't be viewing the reboot, this detox, you shouldn't be viewing it as a challenge. Rather, you should be viewing it as a lifestyle. This is the real you. This is who you actually are. Everything else and all this past behavior was a lie you were fed, and you thought it was you. You thought it was your identity, but it's not. It's not actually who you are and you in your truest sense, you in your truest self. I was talking with a student recently. He cracked over 100 days, and he was saying that was probably one of the biggest changes for him that really helped him keep going. When he stopped viewing it as I'll go these couple weeks, but then after it, I get my big cake reward of watching prawn. When he viewed it as okay, this is a lifestyle now. This is who I am, and this is who I want to be. And when he found the value in living this life free from it, and finding the meaning and the beauty of it, he said that's what really helped him push through and quit for good. You shouldn't be comfortable. You should not feel comfortable. But at the same time, you shouldn't be in constant pain. Kind of a paradox. You shouldn't be comfortable on the reboot because usually comfort means that you're not growing. But at the same time, it's not like this constant thing. It's not like you should be uncomfortable the whole time. There needs to be a balance. It should be like a up and down, where you're growing and then you're adjusting to it, you're normalizing, you're taking a bit of a break, and you're growing and you're adjusting, you're growing and adjusting. That's how it should be, so that you don't lose your mind, where you're in so much pain, where you're like, this sucks. Because what happens is your brain is so primitive, it's gonna be like, this is not good for us. It just views it as is this making us feel good or not? And if you're feeling horrible the whole time, you're gonna go right back to prawn right back to weed, games, crappy food, Netflix, binges, all that stuff, because the brain loves that. But if it's too easy, then you're not actually changing and growing. And yeah, so what? You're not watching Prawn. So what? You're not, jerking the jiggly, but you're just binging on games and Netflix. You're not actually growing. You're just changing the dopamine source to a different source, and you're still in that kind of low motivation, low inspiration cycle of not really getting anything done, not really going anywhere with your life. So it's that fine balance. You want to feel uncomfortable throughout it, but you don't want to be in constant pain. Finally, I think one really important realization you'll make is you shouldn't be identifying with all of your thoughts. By now, you'll have definitely started becoming more aware of the types of thoughts you'll have in regards to the urges that you get, in regards to like some of the things that you want to do when you get pretty far up and you're in withdrawal and you're like really fiending for a high. There'll be times where you'll think of ridiculous things that are so incongruent with yourself, because that's what it is. It's incongruent. It's not actually you. It's just thoughts. You'll have thoughts of doing things that are so out of line, so immoral, really messed up, thoughts that could get you in jail, thoughts that could change your life forever. I'm not going to say that like all that is okay, or maybe you need clinical help. Maybe you need clinical help. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I know that there's been times where I needed to go and get professional help as well. But the thoughts aren't you at the end of the day. If they were you, they would never change. You may notice that your aspirations, that your dreams and goals, for the most part, they're pretty constant. They pretty much stay the same. You know that you want to be healthy. You know that you want to make an X amount of income. You know that you want to have an impact on the world. Those are pretty much always going to stay the same. But these pleasures, these temporary pleasures, and all these thoughts that are racing in your feelings, how you feel, that's not actually you. Otherwise, if you identify with all your thoughts, if you choose to believe that they are you, you'll end up dead by tomorrow. You might have thoughts of just running into traffic for the lulls of it. You might have thoughts of just binging on the most grotesque content you could imagine. Identifying with your thoughts is like trying to constantly have a debate with a bucket. You're debating politics of, right wing this, left wing that, with a bucket. It's like, it's not going to get anywhere. It doesn't do anything for you. So those are like the 5 mental things when it comes to things that you shouldn't think when you're on your reboot, when you're on NoFap. There's going to be a second video coming up where we talk about the things that you shouldn't be doing when it comes to like, you shouldn't be edging, you shouldn't be watching Prawn, you shouldn't be binging other types of stuff. That's going to be more of the physical things. But at this point, you're probably thinking, how do I actually go about doing these things so that they're more permanent? Because maybe one day you can think more positively, or you can do one of the points and tips, but it's not consistent. And you're thinking of, how do I actually get to that process so I achieve these things and they're fun and I'm more consistent and I'm not all over the place yo-yoing. Basically created something new, especially with this whole lockdown situation. Down in the description, you're gonna see a link. It's gonna teach you these things. I'm gonna give you really great pointers, especially with where we are right now and how to deal with all this crazy, overwhelming emotions with this quarantine. There's so much information out there nowadays with the internet. And I feel like now more so than ever, it's not really what you know, because you can find all of that. It's at your fingertips. It's also why you're here. But it's more so like your game plan, how you're gonna do it. And you as an individual, that's more important. And if you want to tune that up, if you want to actually start doing stuff and be more consistent, then just check out what we got for you in the description. And that's that. I'll see you next time. Peace.